visitor to your shore, following a dream I can't ignore.
Hello everyone, this is Natalie and you are watching Natalie's Witchy Wisdom. I am doing kind of a different type of video today. This video just sort of came up and it's going to be a little bit of a kind of a cathartic video, so to speak. What I want to talk about today is something completely different than anything I've ever discussed before. I'm going to talk about ways to deal with heavy emotion. What to do when you feel like your inner sanctum has been violated. And what I mean by that is being empathic, and every human has a capacity for being empathic, but empaths specifically are people who are more sensitive than normal to other people's energy and emotions. And a lot of people who follow a pagan path find that their sense of empathy is opened up, and they can become easily overwhelmed by the emotions and energy that's put forth by others. So what I want to talk about today is, I have noticed that there's been a lot of kind of almost a depression that's going around within the community, and I've been experiencing a lot of this myself lately. If I get emotional during this video, I apologize. I'm going to try not to. But I've been feeling very, very overwhelmed by just a heaviness here recently. I had a weekend, this past weekend prior, that I was supposed to go with Sunshine Morning Ray to the Scarborough Fair down in Waxahachie. We've been planning this for over a year, and all of a sudden my delightful spouse could not find the money to make it happen, combined with really bad weather that came through, and the fact that there was a lot of flooding, and that area tends to become very flooded, and so I was not permitted to go to the fair. She ended up going with Lady Grave Dancer because I gave Tequila a call and asked if there was any way Trina could stay with her while she was here, because I was supposed to be the one that was getting the hotel. I was told to tell her not to worry about bringing anything but herself and her spending money, that we were going to get the hotel and stay down there, and we were going to meet up with Lady Grave Dancer and her family there at the fair, and we were going to all just kind of hang out together. And I was really looking forward to that weekend, because I find that I become overwhelmed by all of the roles that I have to play in my life to everybody else. I don't feel, excuse me, that I have much of an opportunity to just be myself. And what I mean by that is, I'm a business owner, I'm a graduate student, I know I've talked about all of these things with you guys before. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a supervisor. I have all of these different roles and hats that I have to wear, and it's very rare that I actually just get to wear my own hat. The hat I would like to wear the most, the hat's always there. I mean, I am who I am, but you have to hide it to an extent. You can't just, romp around in your fancy dresses with your hoop skirts in the neighborhood, because people think you're a fruitcake if you do that. And although it wouldn't bother me so much if they thought I was a fruitcake just myself, but I have my family and my business that I have to consider, and like it or not, it's a small community, and I have to consider how my actions and what I do is going to impact my children, my husband, my business, people that know me or know who I am or what I do. And I deal with a lot of very Catholic families, a lot of very Christian families, and I don't know that they would take too kindly if they knew what my religion was, because it's very misunderstood. And a lot of times people just want to take what they've been taught it means and what it is without considering any questions or doing it. So I feel a lot of the times that although I don't consider myself in the broom closet, my spirituality is very personal to me anyway. It's not something that I like to talk. It's one to talk about a lot in terms of just in general. I do these videos because to me it's it's a process for me. It helps me to process my journey and my plan, and I like to help others. And if what I'm sharing can be helpful to other people, then I like to do that. And it means a lot to me, and your feedback means a lot to me. But there are times when having to wear all of those various hats without an opportunity to express anything myself or just be who I consider myself to be can become oppressive and overwhelming. And that's the way it's been lately. And I've noticed that a lot of other people tend to be kind of experiencing some depression. So I've been trying to put up some psychic defense because I have not been sleeping well lately. I've been waking up frequently between 4 and 4:30 in the morning, which for me is always a sign that something's going on, whether it's intentional or not intentional. I'm picking up on someone's energy. My husband has not been sleeping well, and he doesn't admit to it, but I think he's more of a witch than he thinks, and I think that's what drew us to each other. He was raised Catholic, but he's never been very devout, so to speak. He believes in deity, but he's more agnostic in terms of his, he doesn't think there's a direct intervention. He's extremely intuitive, and I know that runs in his family. So if you ask me, I think he's a witch that just doesn't know he's a witch. He shares more of our ideals than he admits because he doesn't want to or doesn't realize it. I don't know which. But either way, he has not been sleeping well. And he has become very... when he doesn't get enough sleep, he becomes very sarcastic and biting. And sarcasm is something that affects me very much. I don't like it. It flicks on the raw for me, and so that makes it very hard because I have to bite my tongue a lot of the time. And for me, it's been very difficult because about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, I used to do a lot of journaling, and journaling was very helpful to me. I could process a lot of what I was feeling, and a lot of the negative emotion that I was experiencing, I could express through journaling without fear of saying something, because I tend to be a pretty mouthy person, and I tend to have a rather big attitude, and I tend to say what I'm thinking without true regard, and I've been trying to guard against that. So journaling was for me a way to say all of the nasty negative things that I was saying and let it out without it being out, so to speak. A lot of my journaling, in fact all of my journaling, was never really intended for anyone to see except for me. I do go back and reread my journals because, again, for me it's processing, and I like to see how my feelings have changed, and I go back and reread certain sections or certain days I remember were very difficult, and I process it through time, and that for me was my way of doing so. And about a year ago, maybe 2, maybe 3 years ago, I don't remember exactly how long it was, because for me time has become so fluid of late because I've been so busy. My husband was looking for something and found my journal. According to him, we have a file cabinet that nobody ever uses but me, and for some god-awful reason this particular time he was looking for something in the file cabinet, and I had my journal at the very, very back, and it got stuck. He was trying to open the door, and as he pulled the drawer, the book popped out and fell open, and it was on a particularly a bad day. And rather than picking it up and closing it and putting it back, which is what I would have done and what any respectful person would have done, he chose to read it and came to me about it. And I was very, 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 very upset, because to me that was a violation of my most private and sacrosanct place. It was, for me, my journal was the place where I was the most rawly exposed, and for someone to enter into that without my permission was just the ultimate of disrespect to me, and it totally ruined journaling for me. I have not been able to write or journal since that time, and it's been extremely detrimental, because now I have no release whatsoever for my emotion. I've been trying meditation, and it has helped some, but it has not helped enough. and I don't always have the time to be completely uninterrupted. If I turn my phone off, without fail, it will be a time when my husband is trying to reach me and he becomes very angry because he cannot get a hold of me exactly when he needs me. I can't even have 10 minutes to myself, and it's very overwhelming, extremely overwhelming. Um, I've been trying to get back to journaling, but it just doesn't seem to have the same release for me that it did. And so when you find yourself in a position like that, you may need to seek out the help of someone else. And what I mean is, you can seek counseling. Counseling is a very good thing if it works for you. My problem is, I'm a rather private individual, which is another reason why I liked journaling. Um, I'm pretty open about myself in terms of if people ask me questions about myself, I have no problem telling people my thoughts, my feelings, what I think, what I believe, but it's not something that I'll just openly out and share typically with people. I find that doing these videos helps me a little bit, and I'm hoping kind of maybe that's what this will do for me. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm expecting. I'm just hoping that perhaps my experience helps someone else and somebody can shoot me something that is like a shot in the arm that helps. I don't know. Um, but perhaps, counseling again for me has never been overwhelmingly effective because I don't really share everything that's happening like I would with my journaling. I mean, when I was journaling, I would lay it all out there. Everything I was feeling, everything I was experiencing as I saw it from my perspective, what I was thinking, because again, it was something that I wasn't really expecting anyone else to experience. My daughter was leaving for work and she was letting me know. If counseling works for you, that's fantastic. I don't like to openly share everything, and I have a hard time letting go with a counselor, which again is why it doesn't work well for me. I have a greenway behind my home, and I love to go walking there. I don't have like just wide open spaces around where I live that are free to the public to just walk on. A lot of what's around here is ranch property, and so yes, there's wide open spaces, but it's inhabited by cattle and donkeys, and it belongs to somebody, so you can get yourself shot walking on it. So that for me is very, not really an option either, to just get out and go walking. If it was up to me, I'd be in the middle of a forest. That might help. I think being amongst nature and allowing yourself the healing of the earth, I think the earth has remarkable healing properties. That could be something that may be helpful. I find such little time, and in fact, the only reason I'm able to make this video today is that I canceled my first appointment this morning because it was some drive from where I'm going to be, and I just couldn't sit down, and I just couldn't make the drive. I couldn't drive all the way out there for one visit to turn around, drive all the way back out to this area, and the smell in the home is overwhelming. The kids are always dirty. They always put their hands all over me. I just couldn't do that today. Normally I can set that aside and I can just brush it off and be my professional self, but today I just couldn't do that. So my apologies to that family. I just couldn't do it. I'll make up the time somewhere for the child because the child needs his time. But I just was not in a good place today, and I was afraid I was going to snap if I had to. But this is definitely something that I need to work through, and I hope that if someone else out there is experiencing the same thing, we can help each other by bringing suggestions. Normally, scrying would be something that would be very helpful to me at this point in time, but again, I haven't had a lot of time and privacy. When I do have a lot of time, I don't typically have a lot of privacy because usually my family is with me. I'm never without my family or a client. I'm always either working or I'm at school or I'm surrounded by my family where I don't have a lot of privacy and time, and I'm expected to do what everybody else wants to do. It's never a matter of what would you like to do or what do you need. And I think that's part of what I'm feeling lately is just an overwhelming. Well, so if you are one of those people that journaling works for, journaling is an excellent way to process feelings, even if you just take what you write and then set it on fire afterwards. That's been suggested to me, and I've tried that, but it was not fully helpful because, again, the reason I journaled was that I could go back to those experiences and look at them with a fresh perspective, like a year later or 2 years later. And when you set it on fire, you can't do that. Um, I think that when you are feeling overwhelmed like that, it might be beneficial for you to perhaps, if you don't want professional counseling, seek out a good friend who has a strong base, someone perhaps who is a spiritual worker that does healing work that might be able to help with some of that, to find a release. Obviously, drinking and drugs are not options, so I don't recommend those things. But perhaps finding someone who is outside of the situation entirely, that has a strong spiritual base that's connected with yours. I think that's another reason why I have an issue with a lot of counseling, is that I know that most counselors don't share a religious base with me, and that perhaps our perspective on energy and working and things may be different, and they could be, although they're not supposed to be, judgmental about that. You know, I always question whether they're thinking this person's a total kook in the back of their mind. And that to me hinders my ability to really open up with people. But if you can find a spiritual worker who's of the same base that you are religiously, or has a good center, or is truly non judgmental, that may be something that is needed as well. I definitely think that there may be some room for that. I don't really know what else to say, to be honest with you. This is just sort of I was hoping this would be a bit of a cathartic release for me, just putting it out there. I'm not even sure if I'm going to publish this or not. I have to think on that. I might, simply because at the moment I feel like I'm swimming, drowning. And if by some chance sharing my experiences helps someone else, then I'm willing to do it. But find that release that works for you. Seek the help. And, turn to your deity and see what can happen for you.